Hey guys, welcome back to my brand new series produced by me. And this series is called the What's Up series, where I will be discussing problems related to learning English. In each episode, there will be a problem about learning English. And what we will do is that we will understand that problem deeply and how to reduce or improve that problem for English learners. And I hope that through this series, you'll know more about the importance of learning English and the value of learning English moving forward. And today is episode number 1. I'm sure that you're going to love this series, the What's Up series. Let's get started. Before we get into our topic for this first episode, let's watch a little example to get to know the topic first. Welcome to this IELTS speaking mock test. We have 3 parts. For part 1, let's talk about cycling. How often do you go cycling? I often go cycling. Oh yes, 3 times a week. Yes, 3 times a week. So, we just watched an example of an IELTS speaking mock test, and the examiner asked the teddy bear a question, is how often do you go cycling? And it takes a pretty long time for the teddy bear to kind of like digest the question, and that's not the very best answer to answer for an IELTS speaking test, right? And if that happens, what will you do? Because sometimes when speaking, you need to have good thinking skills in order to answer and ace every single question, whether it's a hard one or a difficult or like an easy one as well. Every single question in English you need to have good thinking skills. And that brings us to today's topic. In today's video, we are going to investigate the topic about critical thinking skills. And thank you so much for someone commented on my very latest video, and it helps me to come up with this episode about critical thinking skills. In today's video, first of all, we're going to talk about what exactly is critical thinking skills. Why is it so important? And some advice and some tips to help you kind of like improve and level up your critical thinking skills, especially in English. And the final part is we are going to have a segment about kind of like the word of the video, the words of the day, some vocabularies that you will learn throughout this video. So I cannot wait any longer. Let's get started on our first, which is what exactly is critical thinking skills. Oh, right. So according to the internet, it says here that critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. That is a very complex meaning of critical thinking skills. But in short, it basically means is that how you solve a problem or how you answer a question. Because if somebody asks you in English, how are you today? You may say, okay, it's an easy question. Who needs critical thinking skills? Well, you are actually wrong. Because whatever you do in a day, you need critical thinking skills. You don't think about, okay, so I'm super excited about something, but should I express it or should I not express it out? Or I'm feeling really tired. Oh, But should I say I'm tired or should I not say it? So it depends, and you really need critical thinking skills. Just like in the example that I showed you in the beginning of the video. When the examiner asked the teddy bear, how often do you go cycling? So how often do you go cycling? I'll give you some time to answer. Okay, so if you are able to answer the question, how often do you go cycling right away? Then I must say you have awesome critical thinking skills because not every single time that you will have a little spare time to think about something. Oftentimes, you will have to solve a problem or answer a question right away. And critical thinking skills is really needed in every single situation, whether it's at work or doing your homework or cooking. But throughout the series, I will mainly talk about problems related to English. So that's why coming up, we'll be talking about why critical thinking skills is so important in learning English as an English learners. Before we get into our first reason why it's so important, I will ask you this question. Have you ever faced this situation before? Let's see. All right, so how do you feel when you just met your idol? Like you've been dreaming about meeting that person since forever. I would be jealous, so jealous of you. Oh, I feel extremely happy. Yeah, I'm so happy. Very, very, very happy. All right. So you just saw that example when like a friend asked the other friend is that how do you feel when you just met the famous person? And in a situation where you really want to say like how excited, how happy you are, you're going to describe like the situation, what did you like ask the idol? But instead, like this teddy bear here, all he can say is that he is happy. So what I'm telling you is that in this situation, oftentimes as English learners, we often face is that we want to kind of like tell, tell the message to the other person how happy, how excited they are, but you are in a loss of words. You don't know what to say, and you have limited vocabulary. You cannot you don't have enough knowledge to process the question in order to kind of like tell your emotion and how you felt. Instead, you just say you're happy and that's it. Have you ever faced this situation before? Well, I do. I remember like when I first started learning English and somebody asked me, how was your day? In Chinese. Okay, I meant Chinese. So like they asked me, how was your day? How are you today? Tell me about your day. And all I can answer is that it was good. And that's it. In Chinese, I answered it was good. And I do not have other vocabularies, like good is hao in Chinese, right? My pronunciation in Chinese are very bad, so don't judge. But like that's a very common word to answer my day was good. But I only know that word. I don't know other words, and I don't know how to describe my day in Chinese. So my Chinese vocabularies and grammar was very limited. And that's why critical thinking skill is very important because you know that critical thinking skills help you to kind of like structure and express your thoughts more effectively. Oftentimes, we want to tell the other person that you are feeling a certain way, but because you don't have good critical thinking skills, you cannot process the problem fast enough. So oftentimes, people misunderstood you for something. Maybe you are sick, and you said, I'm just a little tired, I'm tired. People will think that, okay, you're just a little tired, you're not like severely ill. So it means that you have limited thinking, you cannot think very well. So that's why critical thinking skills really help you to express your thoughts more effectively to the other person. And do you know what will happen if we have good critical thinking skills. Here's what will happen. Hey, how was your first day to school? I heard great things about it. Oh, you were asking about my first day to school? It was literally awesome. I met new friends, saw my old friends and my teachers, and like even my new friends, we just basically hit it off right away, even though we knew nothing about each other. And you know that I really love to study in a new environment with new teachers and new friends. And basically, my first day to school was legit. It was insane. Yeah, so that's basically mine. How about yours? So, how was the latest example? You just saw that the two friends ask each other about their first day to school. And when you have good critical thinking skills, you will be what? You will be confident. Yes, you don't want to be shy. You do not want to kind of like feeling left out in a conversation where your friends or other people are talking and you just stay silent. You don't want to be left out. So that's why critical thinking skills will kind of like it will help you to build self empowerment and confidence because just in the situation when this teddy bear had the confidence, he has good critical thinking skills and he knows how to kind of like describe his first day to school, what he did. He is really confident to show off his talent than a person who does not have good critical thinking skills and are kind of scared to show off their talent. So that's why the second reason is that good critical thinking skill can help build your self-empowerment and confidence, and you'll just be more confident moving forward. It's not just about speaking, it's also about writing too. Because critical thinking skills also link to writing because you know that in English we have four main skills, which is reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And all of those four skills requires good critical thinking skills. So it's not just about how you speak, it's about how you write. And the easiest example I can think of is that in some IELTS writing test, where you have only 1 hour to finish 2 essays. And in order to do that, I don't care how well you write. I don't care about that. But in order to actually write the words down and to actually have ideas for the essay, you need good critical thinking skills. So it's very important in every aspect when you learn English. Because oftentimes people say that, yeah, I'll figure this out when I got into the test room. But oftentimes they do not figure it out because their minds are totally blank. They do not have any ideas. And it's very important if you know the basic knowledge of some of the basic information like technology, AI, or art, because oftentimes I believe that in the writing test, they will mostly have the common topic, like about technology or like our human body, or sometimes other topics like university, education, etc. So if you have enough knowledge about these fields, it will be very easy for you to process the ideas faster. And it's similar to reading and listening too. Because in order to answer the question, you need to understand it, right? Yeah, so when you understand it, you can answer the question easier. And for reading, you need critical thinking skills in order to understand what the essay is about, especially if it's in figurative language. Figurative language is that when they describe something to something, for example, the ball is like a moon. Of course, the ball is not a moon, but because the ball is very round, just like a moon, that is a simile. So the third reason why it's important because it appears and you have to apply that in everyday life when you use English, not just in speaking, but in the other three skills as well. So now you know that critical thinking skills is super important. But how do we improve it? How do we level up our critical thinking skills? Because that is one of a problem that mostly English learners they face. Maybe they are already good at English, but they stop, kind of like stop at a level and they cannot think of anything else to kind of like make their answers longer, especially in the IELTS speaking test. So how do we improve it? How do we level up our critical thinking skills in English? Let's take a look at our first advice and tip from me because I apply this when I learn English as well. I know that critical thinking skills is really hard and difficult, especially for people who are like suffering or needs to improve from it. But nothing is impossible. And one of the first tip that I found really helpful is just to practice, practice, and practice, because practice makes it perfect, like I always said. So firstly, number one, to improve your critical thinking skills is to ask questions. Ask question. But how exactly do we ask question in the most effective way? Okay. So for example, take example of the question that somebody asked you like in the beginning of the video. How often do you go cycling? So instead of say, I go cycling every day, or I go cycling 4 times a week, or once a week. That, yeah, of course, it's the correct answer for the question. But sometime if you are having this conversation and you say, I go cycling every day, and the conversation stop, no one knows what to ask, no one knows what to say anymore. You do not want that, right? So when you are practicing at home, I'm talking about when you're practicing at home, you can try this formula to make your answer and to make you think more critically. So like I always said in many video, ask the question what, where, when, and why. So it applies in different types of question. For example, this question is that do you go cycling? So at first you'll say that how often like do you go cycling? So you will say I go cycling 3 times a day. Where? Well, I go cycling in the park where not a lot of people, like a lot of people go there to breathe in the fresh air and go cycling just like me. So I can meet new friends while go cycling there too. Why? Why do you go cycling? I think that like going cycling 3 times a week really helps improve my health and really helps me to kind of like build up my immune system. You see, this answer is so much better than just a simple answer. I go cycling 3 times a week. Even though it's not incorrect, it's still correct. But if you want to make your conversation more colorful, more fun, then I think you should definitely know how to expand your answer longer. And to do that, you need good critical thinking skills. And the first tip is by asking questions. So remember, it's so easy. Just apply the question what, where, when, why, and you can ace any questions. Okay, how about this? Let's have another question. Is that okay, do you like cooking? It may sound a very easy question, right? Somebody answer yes, somebody answer no. But that's too short. How about this? How about we apply the formula what, where, when, why? And to explain your answer longer, try to practice. If you want to practice, then feel free to pause this video and practice using the formula what, where, when, why for this question. Do you like cooking? For me, here's how I do it. Okay, so let's start. What? Yeah, so like, do you like cooking is that you cannot really answer what is it, right? So let's start with where, when, and why. Yeah, I'm actually fascinated with cooking and you can't tell how much I love cooking. Yeah, of course, in the kitchen, but other time I often bring outside to cook in the fresh air. It depends on the type of food that I usually cook. If it's like fried fish, then bring it outside will make it less smelly in the house. And I really enjoy cooking, especially with my mom and my family, because I felt like when we are all spending time together doing meaningful things like cooking, it really helps building the family relationship to be better. And we will have like better relationship with each other because we work all day and the cooking time is the only time we have to spend time with each other. Yeah. Okay, but there's one warning. You do not want to go off topic. So do I go off topic? I did not. Because I talked about I like cooking and I answer why. So I do add some extra information which is outside, but that's just like a little extra information. But you don't want to go too off topic. Like why do we need to cook fish outside? Right? We don't want to dig too deep into that. Just stick to the question, but when you expand your answer, be careful not to go off topic because I describe about why spending time with my family is meaningful because cooking helps building the family relationship better and like more like it's better. Yeah. So remember, do not go off topic because when you answer the question what, where, when, why, remember you have to actually apply it in different questions. For example, somebody may ask you, why do you love writing stories? So you say that, so for example, you apply that into your answer. I usually write stories, like write fairy tale stories, and they're really fun to write because partly I usually write it in my bed. It's very comfortable and it helps me to kind of like imagine the story better in a more imaginative way. And writing story helps build up my imagination and helps me to think more critically in the long run. Sometimes you don't need to answer too lengthy. Expand your answer in a way where it is direct and do not go off topic. Going off topic is really dangerous because you're not answering directly to the question. So that's my first tip is to ask questions when somebody asks you a question. Not just answer direct to it, but ask other questions so that it connects to that question using the formula what, where, when, and why. And remember, you can also apply this in IELTS speaking part 2. It's very, very helpful. Moving on to our second tip. Another way to improve your critical thinking skills is to learn vocabularies and like kind of like new vocabularies because even if you really want to express this thought, but because your vocabulary is limited and you cannot really express it too effectively, then your critical thinking skills is reduced because maybe you're not a non-native English speaker and you're thinking in your head in Vietnamese, oh, I'm going to answer this question in this way. It's going to be excellent. But when you apply it to English, you cannot express it like you do in Vietnamese because you have limited vocabulary. So make sure to learn vocabulary every single day, but remember to learn in the most effective way. And I have a couple of videos that kind of like teach you some common vocabularies in everyday life too. And you can learn kind of like collocation. Collocation is really helpful, or learning vocabulary based on topic like family vocabularies or education vocabulary so that you can apply it in general topics. It will help you better than learning vocabulary on a book or in a dictionary. So yes, tip number 2 is to learn and gain vocabulary. Alright, so now that we have the vocabulary, we can answer the question what, where, when, and why, but what if we don't have enough knowledge to answer the question what, where, when, and why? What do we do? Well, critical thinking skills is all about the knowledge you have about how are you able to answer the question faster but right in the same time at the same time. So what you can do is that I really extremely recommend you to spend 15 to 30 minutes in your day listening to news. I have lots of YouTube channels or news you can listen. Recently, I really enjoyed watching a YouTube channel called The Economist. The Economist is you can also search The Economist on Google. There's also some news on Google too, but you can also search The Economist on YouTube. And I must say it's really helpful because there are news on literally every single topic. You can find education, technology, healthcare, etc. So I would really recommend you to watch news daily and to do a little shadowing. Shadowing really helps because when you're shadowing, you're both shadowed, reading and thinking at the same time, why does this happen? Because imagine even if I tell you to ask what, where, when, why question, but you don't have the knowledge to answer that, that will not help either. So make sure is to have enough knowledge in order to answer the question because I really can't help you with this knowledge stuff. It's in you. You need to learn it in a way that will help you to gain more knowledge better. Or just watch the news in Vietnamese. I don't care whether it's in English or Vietnamese or in Spanish, as long as you get the information, you will be a better critical thinker because I cannot just say this without thinking. I need to do research too. So when I do research, and even if that I have made hundreds of videos, and throughout those hundreds of videos, I learned hundreds of new things. Because today I talked about critical thinking. So I learned more about this while I make this video. So remember, knowledge is the key to success. Alright, so we have reached the end of this video, and it's such an amazing video, and it's the first episode of the What's Up series. Stay tuned for the second episode.